Hi everyone, how's life, and welcome to another one of my videos. I am on the train. Where are we off to, Eddie?
We are off to Leicester to see Billy Elliot at the... Hang on, let me move a bit because it's very... it's making me look like a ghost. Should I do this?
Yeah, do
that.
Hello. Phenomenal.
How are we? We're going to Leicester to see Billy Elliot at the Leicester Curve, and it's the first time we've seen it in God knows how long, 5 or 6 years?
Honestly, I feel like, about 5-6 years since the last time both of us, I believe, got to see the show. Am I correct?
Yeah.
One of my favourite shows of all time. One of my favourite shows of all time, and yeah, I think the last time I saw it would have been in 2016 or 2017, the Billy Elliot tour, the UK tour that they did as soon as the West End closed. There'll be vlogs about it on my channel. If you've been a long-term subscriber, which some of you might be, and if you are, let me know, because I really appreciate you. Little moment of interruption because we were just given some bottles of water, very kindly, 2 each actually. Eddie is very, very happy. First class has been treating us very well actually. What's the name of the train?
Don't know.
I think it might be Great Midway Western.
I think it's Great... What is it? Should I have a look? I think it's Great Western.
Great Western, okay. So as Eddie does that and looks up the name of the train that we're on, the service, you've got it? Go on. East Midlands. East Midlands to Leicester. Pretty happy with the service actually so far, and the seats are very comfortable. But yeah, haven't seen Billy Elliot in a long time, at least 5-6 years, and it's one of my absolute favourite shows, and I cannot wait to see it again. It's going to be a different production, different theatre, and it's only on for a month, so both of us are big Billy Elliot fans, and we'll see how it is. So yeah, come along with us. We are in Leicester now. We have arrived and we're actually in Nando's because we want to get some food before the show. Our show starts at 5:30 p.m. It's currently 4 p.m. so we've got an hour and a half, and there was a Nando's close to the theatre, so we thought why not. I haven't actually had a Nando's in a long time, but here's the menu. The menu I don't believe has changed too much over the past decade of me eating Nando's. They have a few new things though, but I think I'm just going to go for my regular, which is a chicken thigh, medium. Sometimes I go for hot, sometimes I go for medium spicy, and then the garlic bread at Nando's is phenomenal. This is the menu, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. Nando's is basically like a mix between a quick service and a table service in the UK. It's like Portuguese food, I think, though. Is it Brazilian food? What is it? Portuguese. Portuguese is where it's from generally. And yeah, they do mainly chicken. That's kind of what they're famous for. This is a new thing, spiced chickpea burger. So this is vegetarian. And then the chicken is obviously the main thing, and the chicken thighs here are amazing. The garlic breads, as I mentioned as well, are also phenomenal. You're going to get a garlic bread? Amazing. So as our little starter thing, I ordered Nando's as sweet potato fries, which I believe is a seasonal thing. They don't always have them, but they are, in my opinion, phenomenal. They come with this aioli sauce as well. Very, very nice. Can't wait to eat them. Cheers. Eddie's laughing over here. Eddie's food has arrived. What did you get, Eddie?
A sunset burger with curry fries and garlic bread with burnt bits.
The garlic bread looks amazing. Bon appetit.
Bon appetit.
And this is my plate, so I went for the 4 chicken thighs, medium spicy, garlic breads of course as well, because the garlic bread in Nando's, let me know in the comments down below if you've had it, but in my opinion it's one of the best things to get at Nando's, even though they're known for their chicken. The garlic bread is phenomenal, and then a corn on the cob as well on the side. So yeah, can't wait to eat this. Food was lovely, really enjoyed that Nando's. It hit the spot, as people like Eddie sometimes say. Do you ever say that, Eddie?
No.
Do you ever say it hit the spot? Leave a comment down below, let me know if you do. We are also joined by the lovely Charlie. Hello. And we are now heading to the theatre. It's about 5 p.m. Show starts in half an hour exactly. And here we have it. This is the Leicester Curve Theatre. I've been here once before. It must have been about 6-7 years ago. I came here to see a show called Water Babies. But yeah, it's a cool theatre if I remember it correctly. You've got Eddie and Charlie there as well. Love the kind of exterior of it, and you can kind of see in the background the Billy Elliot poster. The theatre event of the summer from the 13th of July to the 20th of August, so it's only around for about a month, but hopefully, thankfully, we are here on time and excited to see it. Eddie, it's very windy. My hair is just... Don't make it more windy. What's wrong with you? Are you excited about the show, Eddie?
Very excited.
Yeah, I mean,
a bit nervous. But...
Me too. I was telling Eddie, we're both a little bit nervous because we're very curious to see what it's going to be like, I think, after so long. The hair's an absolute mess, just ignore it. The fact that you've got like red and white Matches with the Billy Elliot. No. Look at the Billy Elliot logo behind you. Red and white. And absolute mess of a hair. And here's a little castboard area. I'm sure there'll be a castboard inside as well, but I just wanted to show you the poster outside. So we've got Craig Armstrong, who has actually been in the West End show before as well. He's in this production. You've got all the different Billies, the different ballet girls, etc. Rachel Eisen plays the grandma. Of course, I'm going to talk about all the cast later on at the end of the show, but I thought I would show you this big poster. It's nice that they've got this here, kind of showcasing the talent of Billy Elliot, made at the Curve. Completely new production of Billy Elliot the Musical. Yeah, I'm nervous as well. They have a lot of screens everywhere in the theatre lobby. The lobby is really nice. It's a very modern theatre, isn't it, Eddie?
Yeah, very modern. I'm not sure when it was built, but maybe
it's
like 2000-ish, I think.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
I remember when I first heard about the Leicester Curve as a theatre, and it was quite a big deal when they first started hosting musicals here. Yeah. But the screens, obviously, you would have seen it earlier. They do have the cast list of who's performing today. Our Billy is Jaden, so it should be exciting to see him. But yeah, loads of screens as well, so that there's no way for you to miss the cast, which is good. I love that the cast get to have their credit. Hair's still a mess, so please ignore that, but they've also got this cute little photo Instagram selfie spot with the Billy Elliot logo and made at Curve, Leicester Curve, the theatre that we're in. So you can get some photos. See, if you want to see the photo of me here, because I have taken one, of course I have, follow me on Instagram, you'll be able to check it out over there. But we've got about 10 minutes until showtime, so we're going to head into the auditorium now. Seats now. We're in row H of the stalls. I'm in number 17. You're is 18?
18.
18, and we so on and so forth. But the theatre's beautiful. The seats are phenomenal. Quite comfortable. He's like, then that's not that beautiful. Okay, it's not. It's very modern. It's just
it's very modern.
It's a very modern.
It's enough. Seats are very comfortable.
It's bigger than I remembered it as well, for sure. It's a little bit hot, but we have a beautiful view for sure, and the seats seem nice.
Yeah.
And for the price, was it
£38 for this? I don't know if you'll have shows.
I'll show the view in a second, but £38 for our seats we paid in the stalls. Yeah. Not bad at all. And this is the view that Eddie spoke about. So that's the stage in front of us. Obviously at the moment it just says British Call Billy Elliot the Musical, but the actual stage as well seems bigger than I remembered it from years ago when I first came here. But yeah, looking forward to it. Also got on my program, which we're going to talk about and have a look at the end of this vlog. Yeah, you can kind of see the auditorium behind me. I think this place has 2 levels, 1 dress circle, 1 stalls, and it is 5:20 p.m, so the show's going to start soon. I will speak to you in the interval. It is the interval, Eddie. We're both saying it's warm. We both feel quite overwhelmed. The show is amazing.
Yeah,
the show is
incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's very different. I'll talk about the differences and stuff at the end of the video. But the heart of it is so phenomenal that I've cried multiple times. We both have felt a lot throughout it. It's a great show.
It's fantastic.
I already would recommend it. Yeah.
Thoughts, some things I may even
prefer in this production.
Yeah, in this production.
I feel like it's very creative the way they've changed things about. So obviously we're both used to what we saw in the West End and that original production, and the staging and the dancing, choreography and everything. But there's definitely some great choices here as well that also work fantastically, in my opinion.
Feels a lot busier.
Yeah, there's always a lot going on.
Yeah.
I love what they've done with Solidarity. Even though I love the original Solidarity, it was done very cleverly here.
It was so good.
It's just the way that you could see everything going on at the same time. There was like a rotating situation going on. Anyway, we're going to go outside for a bit, get some walking going on, and speak a bit more outside the theatre, outside the auditorium, shall we say, right? Jaden is our Billy today. Jaden Shentall-Lee, and he really is fantastic. Such a phenomenal Billy. And I'm by this sign again, the beautiful Billy Elliot. made at Curve sign. Again, if you want to check out some photos of my visits to the Curve, check my Instagram out. The link will be down below. It's so interesting and weird coming to see a show that you're so familiar with. I mean, the material of the show, the songs, the script, the lyrics, everything about it. Both Eddie and I have seen many, many times before, and yet see a completely new production of it, new staging, new choreography, new direction. I don't think I've ever experienced something like that before, and especially a show that I really love. Like, Billy Elliot is genuinely one of my favorite shows of all time. It's got a big place in my heart, and there's a lot of thoughts that I have in my mind. It almost feels in some ways that as if I'm seeing the show for the first time, but then it doesn't, because I know it so well at the same time. It's fantastic. All I can say is that, you know, just so far, we're only about halfway through the show. I would recommend the show. So if you can get to Leicester Curve Theatre in the next month whilst Billy Elliot is on, come and see it. It's a good show. Eddie, now that we've had some time to calm down from our overwhelmness, any particular thoughts that you have, any kind of highlights, whatever you think that was really good about the show so far?
Love the Billy.
The Billy is fantastic.
Jaden,
yeah. I showed the name earlier.
He's very different, I feel, to like any that I've seen before. He's one of the best actors, I feel like.
Oh my god, doing the letter scene, like
he was brilliant.
I cried.
Yeah,
and I didn't think I would, because you know when you see the show so many times and you're kind of used to a song and what they say. Fantastic actor for sure.
Absolutely excellent. We were saying we feel like they've taken the funniness and the comedy out of it quite a
little
lot.
bit, quite a lot,
and
there's not as many pauses. I think they've definitely shortened the show anyway, so it's about the show's 2.5 hours roughly, whereas in London it was definitely closer to 3 hours. So
I feel like I'd want a bit more funny in it. So I really used to like the juxtaposition between different elements.
I agree with you.
We were both saying Solidarity
was clever,
incredible,
very clever the way they've done it. I was amazed, and I was really worried about it because it's one of my favorite songs. It's one of my favorite songs in any theatre show ever. But they done the two guys that we saw actually.
That's sweet.
Jaden, and I don't know the name of the Michael, but I'll get it for you later on.
It's brilliant. Brilliant.
One thing I was telling Eddie is that Billy is not really centre stage as much as he was in the London production. So a lot of the moments where Billy's at the front and you kind of see him. Sometimes I was like, where is Billy? I had to like try and find him. I kind of understand why they've done it, because it makes it more of like a real vibe going on. The world is going on and he's just doing his own thing. But then you said it kind of makes it feel like you're not rooting for him as much.
I feel like I'm not rooting just as much. And I also said to Sam, in regards to Billy's presence, not as the actor, but just from the direction of it. Of him and Mrs. Wilkinson, I don't feel like he's finding a mother figure in her as much. I don't see that. I see it more as a teacher.
Not quite as a mother figure. I get that as well.
But we were just talking to someone over there, weren't we, who said they'd never seen the London production. And I was thinking I would struggle to even explain what the London production was like.
Because they were asking us, is it how different it is? And we were like, it's very different, but we don't really, it's just because it's so different. As you said, we can't really explain it. Anyway, the show's going to start again, so we're going to head back into the auditorium. Theatre door number 4 is where we're heading to, back into the stalls. And they are getting ready for the second act, which starts with Merry Christmas Maggie Thatcher. We are going back to row H, were we? Where were we? Oh yeah, this one over here. Well, here we are, back in our seats. This is the view again. Fantastic view that we have here from row H, right in the middle as well. H17 is where I'm sat. And yeah, this is, they're playing Last Christmas. Anyway, the show's going to start again, so I'll speak to you afterwards. The show has finished, as you can probably tell. The auditorium is slowly but surely getting emptier, and it's only about 5 minutes to 8, so about 2 hours and 25 minutes roughly was the whole duration of the show, give it or take. Obviously they had a finale as well at the end of the bows. I've cried multiple times. I have a lot of thoughts. I'll try and get all the thoughts out later on at the end of the video, but overall I enjoyed it. I mean, obviously the fact that I was so moved by it clearly means that I did enjoy it. We are out of the theatre now, and it is still bright, despite it being a summertime in London. Or we're not in London. Where are we? Leicester. Let me know in the comments down below if you're from Leicester, by the way. But yeah, obviously I'm going to talk a bit more about the show once I get in. But overall, Eddie, what were your thoughts?
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, at one point I even saw at the end, I was crying. I looked at you and you had some tears in your eyes.
To bring it up on the video.
He likes making fun of me. But yeah,
it was emotional.
It was beautiful. It was very beautifully acted, and you said it felt more like a film in some ways, in some parts.
Yeah, it did.
And I agree.
I always used to feel like this show could have had the music taken out of it and the script was strong enough.
And still be amazing.
And I really felt it with this production that it really could have been a play.
Yeah, because a lot of the focus was mainly on the acting, and that's one thing that was amazing about it. Anyway, this is the theatre. We've got Billy Elliot behind us, Leicester Curve. I'll speak to you either when I'm home or when I'm on the train back. So say goodbye to Edster. Thank you for the good day. See you in a bit. And I am back home. It's actually been just over a week since I saw Billy Elliot at the Leicester Curve, and I realised I haven't finished this vlog yet, and I had a few last minute thoughts that I wanted to share with you, also kind of go through the cast as well. So I do have the programme here with me. Very, very nice programme made at Curve on the back as well. Obviously I've already shared my general thoughts on the show, and it's interesting kind of looking back at it now, about 9 days later since I saw the show, and how I feel about the show now. And my thoughts haven't changed. I still think Billy Elliot is a fantastic show, and the production they've got going on at the moment at the Leicester Curve is definitely worth seeing as well. However, one thing I will say, and I think my friend Eddie and I touched on it earlier as well, is that this new production is just genuinely so different to the West End show, to the original production of Billy Elliot, that it's hard to even kind of mention things that are different, because everything about it really is different. I was trying to explain it to one of my friends a few days ago, and I genuinely couldn't. I was like, all I can tell you is that everything is different. The choreography, of course, is very, very different. Direction is different. Everything, the movements, I mean, the only thing that is obviously the same is the script and the songs. But even with the songs, a lot of them I noticed stayed sped up. For instance, even from the start, The Stars Look Down, one of my favourite songs from Billy Elliot, it was just a lot more, the tempo of it was a lot more sped up, and that's kind of why I feel like the show overall was also a lot shorter than it was at the West End. With some of the songs, they'd also cut some of the sections of it, so maybe they might skip one of the verses, or just not do like the second part of the song, something like that. I don't think any of the cuts that they did from the show necessarily affected it. I mean, the story is still very strong, you still get what's going on, so I didn't personally mind that. However, it was obviously very interesting and a little bit strange kind of listening to these songs that I obviously know very well, because I've been a big fan of Billy Elliot for over a decade now, and kind of hear them at a different tempo, a bit faster, with different orchestrations. But just because I thought it was strange doesn't mean that it was bad. It was just different. As you can imagine, it was strange for me because I'm so used to something else, and then I got to see it in a very, very different way, the songs anyway. But that's just the songs. Everything else about the show was even weirder to kind of see and experience. But one thing that both Eddie and I kind of really wanted to make sure was to go into this production with an open mind. Obviously we were a little bit nervous before we went to see the show because we both love the original production so much, but I really wanted to give this new production a chance as well. And I think if you don't go with an open mind and kind of just go into it wanting to compare it constantly to the original production, then you're not really giving it a fair chance, if that makes sense, because obviously we already knew it was going to be a different production, so we already expected things to be different. And don't get me wrong, everything was a lot more different than I thought, but again, as both Eddie and I touched on it earlier, I personally actually enjoyed some of the changes, and I thought it was very, very clever and creative, and in some ways it made me feel like I was watching the show for the first time, like this show that I've seen many, many times. I don't even know how many times I've seen it in the West End, probably over 50 times, probably even more than that, to be honest. As you can imagine, I'm very familiar with the show, and yet because the staging, the choreography, the direction was so different to what the original show was, it very much felt in many ways as if I was watching a new show. It was so weird. It was like I was watching an old friend. I was seeing an old friend that I knew, but I hadn't seen in a long time. So obviously they'd grown, this friend had grown in these years that I hadn't seen this friend, and so they were different. They had new elements to them that I didn't know anymore, but yet at the heart of them, they were still the same friend. That's a very cheesy way of describing it, but that's kind of what it felt like. So yeah, if you've seen the original production of Billy Elliot, if you've seen it on tour even in the UK, the tour that they did immediately after it closed out in the West End, do not expect it to be anything like that. Every single scene, every single moment in is very different. But a few things that I really liked about this production. Firstly, just the sets I thought were very clever. Both my friend Eddie and I were wondering about it initially before we went to see it. We were wondering how they were going to do Billy's room, for instance, Billy's bedroom, because that's a big part of the original production. And I thought the way they handled that in this production at Leicester Curve was very creative, very well done. It was like little blocks of different rooms. So you had Billy's room, and then you had the kitchen on the floor, and then on the top, I think they used the top bit for other parts, other scenes. Like sometimes they would have a random performer, a random character on that top section, just watching the overall setting of what was going on. And I think that was actually another thing that I appreciated quite a bit with this new production. Scenes were always very busy. There was always something going on stage, and Billy was never really the main focus. So even in scenes like Solidarity, in the original production, there's a bit where Billy kind of starts doing the pirouettes, and Mrs. Wilkinson sees that and is amazed by it and realizes for the first time that there might be something special in Billy and the dancing that Billy can do. In this production, Billy was not center stage when he started doing the pirouettes, and I don't even know if he did pirouettes. I don't remember exactly what kind of dance moves he did, but he was just somewhere kind of in the classroom doing his dances, and Mrs. Wilkinson was watching him do it. And at the same time, you had loads of other things going on. Through Solidarity, you had the ballet girls doing their dances, you had the police officers, you had the miners. It was just a lot going on all at once that stage, and it was a very, very powerful, very strong way to showcase what was going on. Like, Solidarity is one of my favorite scenes and favorite songs in musical theatre. I think it's phenomenal. It's very clever. It showcases everything. I know a lot of what Billy Elliot is about very, very well. And I love this new interpretation of it. I thought it worked really well. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying this new production, this new choreography for Solidarity is better than the West End's. For me, the West End's production, the West End choreography will always be my favourite. Obviously, it's the one I saw first. It's the one I've seen many, many times. And it will always have the most kind of special place in my heart. But I liked what I saw and what they'd done with this new production with Solidarity in particular. I thought that was a highlight. Even with scenes like with Michael, Billy and Michael, and expressing yourself, it was just done so differently. I felt like they emphasized different things about the script, and I feel like more of the emphasis was actually on the lines that Michael was saying and kind of the actual idea of expressing yourself. Like, what the hell is wrong with expressing yourself? What's wrong with wearing a dress if you want to? Whereas in the West End production, there was a lot more dancing. It was more about, the production value of it, if that makes sense. So sometimes the actual lines would get lost. It's just two different ways of doing it, to be honest. So a lot of people I've noticed aren't the biggest fans. A lot of people who've seen the original production of Billy Elliot haven't been the biggest fans of this new production because there's not as much dancing, and this is something that I obviously noticed as well, and it is true. The dancing in the Leicester Curve production of Billy Elliot, number one, is not as much as what used to be in the original production, and also, forgive me for saying this, it's just not as strong, and that's not, a criticism of this production. They just obviously were going for a different route with this production, but the fact remains that the dancing from all the cast just wasn't as strong, and it doesn't mean that the cast aren't good dancers. It's obviously just the way it was choreographed, the way it was designed, what they were trying to do with this production. Clearly the emphasis was not the dancing, and I think personally the emphasis was mainly the script and the acting. Some people might say, well, Billy Elliot is all about dancing, like kind of that's what you think about when you think of Billy Elliot. It's about a boy who wants to dance, so you'd want the dancing to be the main part of it, and I get that. I get that totally. However, I will also say that just because the dancing isn't as much or as big of a part of this new production doesn't mean that there's no dancing. I mean, there's still dancing. If you're going to see this production of Billy Elliot at the Leicester Curve over here, you're still going to get some great dancing in it. The guy that we had, the boy that we had on as Billy that day, Jaden, he was fantastic. He was clearly a great athlete, a great dancer, and he did a great job in Electricity. It's just the dancing was very, very different and a bit more minimal to what we've seen before in the West End with the Billies, with the other performers, the adult performers, the Michaels, the ballet girls. There was just a lot more in London, and I think that's a reason, in my opinion personally, that this production will never work in London in the West End. I feel like I've said enough, to be honest, in terms of my thoughts on the show. I mean, I could probably write a whole essay and speak for like 24 hours about every single thing that was different and things that I liked or didn't like about this new production, but overall I enjoyed it. So even some of the things that, like some of the choices that I wasn't necessarily the biggest fan of, I could still see where they were coming from. Do you know what I mean? One thing though, I need to mention this, and I'm only mentioning mentioning this in hopes that maybe somebody who also saw the show might tell me why this was happening. So basically in Shine, which is one of my favourite numbers in Act 1 with Mrs. Wilkinson, towards the end of it, in this new production of Billy Elliot, they used some fake guns, like toy guns, as props as they were dancing, and I was just really confused by it. I mean, I understood, I think, what they were trying to do, but I really was not a fan of that particular situation, that particular choice. I thought that was a little bit odd. Personally, I don't know. It didn't work in my opinion. Anyway, that's the only thing that I really didn't like. But yeah, you can see kind of the song list here with every song. They didn't really cut any song from the show. All the songs were still in the show. It's just, as I said, some of them were shortened and obviously tempos were different, etc. And you've even got the running act here as well. So you can see over here it's got the timings for Act 1 and Act 2. Act 2 is only 55 minutes, so definitely, you know, significantly shorter than the original production. I'd say about 35 minutes shorter than the original production of Billy Elliot. I just want to quickly, hopefully very quickly, go through the cast as well, at least the main cast, because unfortunately if I go through the whole cast, we're going to be here for another 3 hours. Craig Armstrong is in the show. He plays the role of George, and I'd actually seen him before in the West End production of Billy Elliot as well. This is him over here, and it was good to see him in Billy Elliot again. Then for Billy's dad, we had Joe Caffrey play this part, and this is Joe Caffrey over here. And Joe Caffrey, again, is actually a performer that I'd seen already in Billy Elliot in London years and years ago, so he was very familiar. I loved being able to see his portrayal of Billy's dad again. However, because the production was so different, even though his lines were the exact same, with the direction being completely new, it still felt like I was watching him for the first time. It was very odd. You know, I'd seen him multiple times in the West End before, and yet it was almost like he had like a new life to him. And I like this. This is all like good things. I really enjoyed watching this show and this production, and I thought they did a great job with the production. I can't say enough about how well the storytelling was. Like, genuinely, I recommend the show for sure. Luke Baker, who normally would be playing the role of Tony, Billy's dad, was actually off the night that we saw the show, and we had an understudy instead. I believe, actually, if I'm not mistaken, our understudy for Tony was actually Robin Paley York. He was on for Tony instead of Luke Baker, and that is him over here. He did a good job. You know, Tony is a difficult character. I've seen loads of Tonys throughout my life. I've seen Billy Elliot, and it's really difficult because he's a very complex character. And actually, honestly, I love Billy Elliot so much. One of my favorite things about Billy Elliot the Musical, and just Billy Elliot the story, the film, is that there is no villain in the show. There is no villain in the story. Every single character that you see and are introduced to has some good things about them, some bad things, and you really feel for all of them. That makes you feel for every single one of them. You can understand where everyone's coming from. No one is just a bad person, and I think that's beautiful. That's something that you don't actually see a lot in musicals. Most musicals normally tend to have this one villain who like needs to be there to kind of keep the story going, whereas Billy Elliot doesn't need that. It's about real people. I love that. Honestly, such a beautiful, phenomenal show. I love it. Anyway, for our Michael, for our performance, we had Prem Masani playing the role of Michael, and you can see the photo here of Prem. Prem was fantastic. Really, really good Michael. Very funny. He was funny in different ways, again, that I'd seen Michaels be played in the West End. And I think that's just because of the direction that he was obviously given and the fact that the focus was mainly on the lines. But he was great, you know, really enjoyed his performance. And then for our Billy, of course, we had Jaden Shentall-Lee, who I thought was phenomenal. That is Jaden over there. Really fantastic young actor, and I'm sure I'll see him in other shows in the future. And then I think the last person I really want to mention is Mrs. Wilkinson, who was played by Sally Ann Triplett. Now, I've seen Sally Ann Triplett in quite a few shows before. She has done a lot of shows. She's a very well-known performer, and that is her bio over here. I really enjoyed her. I thought she was fantastic. She had a great voice, you know, great dancing, great presence on stage as well. I just really liked her, you know, characterization of Mrs. Wilkinson. Mrs. Wilkinson is a favorite of mine in terms of, again, musical theatre characters. I would say she's probably in my top 5 favorite characters in musicals. I think she's such a beautifully complex, again, character, as are most of the characters actually in this show, obviously. But I don't know, I just think there's so much to to Mrs. Wilkinson's character, and not every performer is able to get all those layers out and showcase them more, and I thought Sally Ann Triplet did manage to do that. I thought she was great. Then you've got all the ballet girls here, obviously different teams depending on when you see the show, but that is it. I feel like I've talked a long time, and you definitely did not ask for this. I'm sorry. I just had a lot of opinions that I wanted to share with you in terms of Billy Elliot, because it's a show that obviously matters a lot to me. I care a lot about it. I've seen it so many times. I put it on Instagram actually a few days ago, but Billy Elliot the Musical is the very first live, West End show that ever made me cry. I first saw the show in 2008. That's like 14 years ago now. I was very young then. I was still a teenager, and I went to see it with a friend, and I remember both of us started crying. We did not expect it. I didn't know at the time that it was possible to cry, at live entertainment. I know, it's such a weird thing. Obviously, these days I cry at almost everything I see. But it was the first show that made me cry. And I'd definitely seen loads of other musicals beforehand. So it wasn't my first West End show. It was just the first one that really moved me, and to this day it's one of my favorite shows. But that is the end of this video. My hair is an absolute mess. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have any comments or questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll try my best to reply to them. Thank you so much to my friend Eddie for accompanying me, and Charlie as well. It was good to see her. And yeah, that is the end of this video. Sorry that it was long. I had a lot of thoughts. If you watched it to this point though, maybe leave a comment down below with the word Dancing Sam. Yeah, just write Dancing Sam in the comments. It's just ironic because I'm definitely not a dancer. Like, I can't dance at all. But write Dancing Sam, and other people who probably haven't watched until the end of the video might be confused. But it will let me know that you watched it until the end of the video, and I appreciate you a lot. So thank you. I am going to go. Have a lovely day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.